All right, a very good morning. You're watching the Kokoliriko show that comes every Monday to Friday. It is the Wednesday edition of the show, and that means we'll be really making the half of this month for this show. And remember, this actually this week, not really this month. You don't know what is happening with my mind now, but it's okay. It's okay. Those of you who are watching us right now, we say thank you very much, and we apologize that there were a lot of issues around technical bits, and we are back here live. So you should be able to get close to your phone, your screens, and so on, be able to understand what is actually going on in this region, this country, and this continent. Across the world, we'll be actually bringing you detailed analysis of issues that are happening and also what is actually happening today. And that's why we are here to you, actually for you to deliver a lot of issues, a lot of stories, a lot of ideas, sharing them with you so that you are able to really get to up to date what is actually happening elsewhere. And for those of you who are watching us within Arua City, we say thank you very much, and I'm sure that all of us are prepared for work. And the whole of last night, there were a lot of issues that were going on, and this range from bad to good, and knowing very well that it's grasshopper season. So many people were restless the whole night, running around trying to look for where they can be able to get grasshoppers, and that is one big issue. I hope people are able to really add up to their profits from this opportunity. Remember, a business person just needs to collect that without even any much investment or capital that you should be able to deploy into the collection of the grasshoppers. So this is one big opportunity for those of you who had made losses to really up your profits. So that's very important. And those of you who are watching us from Madiokolo, Koboko, Maracha, and Jumbe, we say thank you very much. And those from Terego District, Moyo, Nebia, Jumani, Pakwach, and talk about Obongi, we say thank you very much. But straight, let's move to some of the trending issues in this country that we can be able to talk about later on. We will talk about the issues to do with the URA and local community interactions. Okay, there were a lot of issues that came around. Remember, yesterday the officials from Uganda Revenue Authority actually had issues. There was a clash between the community members and the URA officials from Arua Service Station that was around Rema Hospital. That's when you are actually on the Arua Pakwach Road as you are heading that side. And you realize that in that incident, there was one life lost. This is actual confrontation when actually the URA officials were chasing one of the persons without number plates on a motorcycle. So that's one key area there that we'll be able to bring for you detailed analysis about. But also there were issues to do with the one allegation of sacrifice that was practiced around Kashua Cell. This actually Bura Cell that is in Komite Ward in Arua City, where really one person was said to have died, and a girlfriend lost the life, and the man was picked by the relatives of the girlfriend and almost killed him. And in this, police intervened. There were also clashes between police and the relatives of the girl. And this is another issue that is here in Arua City, and also so tragic and really a perturbing issue that is really touching the lives of so many people. Many people are sharing a lot of ideas on how really what could have gone wrong, and that's one matter that is also being investigated. But there's a lot that will be really shared on the issue, but also the issues to do with the demand by citizens to get responses on the services that are rendered to them is another big issue there. Remember, under social protection, there are a lot of interventions, but these interventions have never reached the targeted beneficiaries. Why? Are you aware that there are so many people who are implementing these programs, but they tend to divert them, the attention of the duty, actually, divert the interventions to benefit their own communities or their own relatives. That is another issue there. We'll be able to understand how far this has been able to go, and also we have seen civil societies trying to empower locals to demand for accountability on services that are being delivered to them, and that's very critical and a very big issue there that will be also moving to and look at some of the issues that are happening elsewhere, and also that is another issue that will be also bringing to your attention and be able to understand what could be going on, and also what can be of importance to the public. Okay, it's very, very important for us to understand that all of us need each other in terms of picking one to grow with you, but also ensuring that everyone is at par. Okay, I hope all those can make your day, and also we'll be actually having the news in Lugarati that will be coming out under your way. That will be at around 9 a.m. But also after that we'll be having the Northern Request, and many other programs will be also following suit. So remember, do not really miss to join us tomorrow in the Daktari. So that is a new program which has a lot to do with your health. So there will be a lot of issues said there. If you have questions, if you have doubts, if you have maybe some issues related to your health, some speculations about the topics that will be discussed, you can be able to get part of the discussions and be able to ask the health professionals live at that show. And that's a very, very good initiative that West Nile TV has been able to bring closer to you. You know, paying money for consultations is another big issue there. You realize that many times health facilities offer these consultation services at a cost, because really for you to see a doctor you have to book. And this has really left many people really not to get services at the time they need it, because really you have to look for some money, and also seeing the doctor is another thing. Also going for tests, you have to pay results, and also buying drugs for such a thing is another issue. So many people have been always left out because they can't afford the services at many of the hospitals in the region or in the country. So it's very, very important that you take keen interest to pay attention to some of the topics that are discussed on West Nile Television, especially in these topical shows. Talk about the show of the Daktari show, and also this Kokoliriko, where we bring sometimes guests and also officers to explain to the leaders or the locals who need the services to understand what is actually going on. So these are really serious shows that you should not really be able to miss, and it's very important that once you come closer and be able to be attentive, you can actually learn more and build yourself from those kind of things. And that is it. Having said all that, we should be able to understand that yesterday was the World Diabetes Day, and many districts actually commemorated this day, and we are happy that Moyo and Pakwati district, actually Zombo districts, were able to really have this day celebrated. And remember, this is actually to create awareness to the people, and also make sure that people are able to take up the interventions tailored to us, bringing the disease burden low, and ensuring that really people are able to respond to the remedies that are levied towards eradicating the disease or reducing the disease burden among the people. Remember, diabetes is one dangerous disease that can claim your life in a shortest second, and this is because really sometimes once your sugar levels increase, you can easily suffocate and feel like to die at that particular moment. So when there is no one to rescue you and help you in such a circumstance, that means your life will be gone, unfortunately, without any recognition. So that is one big issue there. So So local governments need to really continue sensitizing people, especially the duty bearers. I talk about people in the offices of health department, community services, and also the political leaders need to take this to the communities, because they have wider opportunities to share with the locals, because these people, they elected you from their own hearts and felt like you should be able to be the one to represent them. So you can pick one of the technocrats and work with them in case you have any gathering, maybe in church services, in the Juma prayers and so on, in the mosques and so on. You should be able to move to these places and disseminate the same information and make sure that people are able to really get knowledge on some of these kind of things, so that people live longer, people are able to be productive rather than really using most of this least resources that they have to only maybe invest them in buying drugs for treatment and so on. And remember, diabetes does not really get cured in a week's time. So it needs you to take regularly drugs for 2 to 3 months and go for another medical checkup to ensure that really your sugar level is regulated and is to the standard. So that is the one other thing we need to really take seriously, to ensure that everyone is accommodated, everyone is able to really get the services needed, and also whatever is important in the lives of each person, okay? Because really diabetes does not spare, whether you're a child, whether you're an adult, whether you're who. It is the type of food you consume, and also how really you have been able to relate with somebody who has diabetes. There are so many diseases that have been really transferred or transmitted hereditarily, where you get it from your ancestors, your parents, and so on. It always really perturbs a lot. So every time you are born, you should be able to take the privilege of going to do testing, medical examinations at health facilities, and ensure that you are updated every time about your health status, to ensure that you are able to survive for long. Okay, survival for long means you'll be able to do productive work, you'll be able to help each other. Okay, any community member who is alive, who is good reasoning and so on, can be of value to the community. So that is one thing we need to take seriously as we continue living, we continue dialoguing, we continue asking questions that are in our minds that we don't understand and so on. When health experts are our midst, but also in health facilities, let's take the issues of community sensitizations seriously. Many times health workers just resort to engage in communities or attending to sick persons without really sitting with people and telling them about the common illnesses and understanding from the perspective of the community what is it that is contributing from homes or communities or villages where they reside. What is it that is actually making them come to health facilities each and every day or each and every month? This, if you talk to people openly, they will be able to actually share with you a lot, and you'll be able to, at some point, diagnose some of these diseases from that perspective, and also have outreaches in the communities to ensure that a lot is understood by the community members in as far as some of the diseases are concerned. That's why many times the issues of self-medication comes in, because people feel like once I'm sick, maybe I have a headache, I run to the clinic, the drug I know is quite maybe Panadol, that is a painkiller that I can easily consume, and my head will stop aching. And that's one big unfortunate thing that many people always take to be as the gospel true, that is the treatment, because the ideal, the painkiller will be able to reduce the pain in your the ache in your head, and also a lot of the pain will be relieved, and yet the disease that is actually bringing those signs is not treated. So that is one quite unfortunate thing we need to really look at, to understand and also really make sure that we're able to reach the communities, not really communities coming to the health facilities, but health facilities need to now start moving to the communities to ensure that some of these gaps are filled. Because really, if you can't bridge that gap, the social accountability will not be realized. The social accountability is in terms of service delivery. If you are maybe in the health sector and we have drugs that have been brought for this quarter, and you have not been able to share with people what kind of drugs have come to the facility, for how long are they expected to last, and also what can people do. Because many times when drugs come like that, it's a common practice that in the communities that once people hear that they have brought drugs in this facility, the first week everyone wants to rush to the facility and explain that he is sick. Even if you want to test them, some of them will resist and will say, no, I tested somewhere and this is the result. You see that? And people want to all go with drugs. They want to move with Coartem, they want to move with the Panadol, they want to move with all those drugs and keep them at home to wait for when they will be sick. And that's one big other issue that we really need to fight. We need to change that mentality of keeping drugs to wait for sickness, and yet it is the health facilities that are supposed to do this. And that's why many times the health facilities are reporting drug outages or shortages in a shortest time, and yet this is actually supposed to be something planned for a quarter, which will take maybe 3 months. And because people feel like they will miss the drugs when they wait for the time they will be sick, this really causes those kind of things to happen. And the impact of it is always seen by the cases of drug resistance diseases being seen on people. Talk about TB, talk about many others, even malaria. We have now drug resistant malaria cases that have been registered, and this is attributed to this kind of self medication that is coming up. So health workers need to regulate the giveaway of drugs, but also look at really critically whether this person is sick. You need to diagnose. If you don't have testing kits, there's no need for you to actually prescribe drugs, because really you can easily endanger the lives of the community and also make or make some people die just because you have prescribed the wrong drug and also given them not really the rightful doses. So people will be consuming drugs that are not related to the sicknesses they are actually undergoing, or some of them might have not been sick, but you give them drugs. So that is one quite unfortunate thing. So we need to really fight that vice and make sure that the mentality of saying we can get cured or we can always be safe when we have drugs in our homes should be changed. How do we change this? The professionals need to also come out and explain to people that actually you can prevent malaria from coming to your home by actually keeping your surrounding clean, by making sure that your hygiene or home hygiene is safe. Sleeping under mosquito-treated mosquito nets, and also ensuring that there is lighting up to date in your rooms, ensuring that the walls are painted white inside, so that there is reflection. You know, mosquitoes like being in dark corners, so that's where they mostly hide themselves. So if you have a room that is well lit and it's quite bright, it's an easier way for you to really actually chase away these mosquitoes. So that's another issue that we need to really look at if we want to improve the service delivery at a particular point. So let's take a break from here. We'll be actually coming shortly with many other topics or discussions that we'll be having here. So for you who are actually joining us online, you should be able to really utilize the YouTube channels and comment or share with us your opinion on the issues that we're discussing here. Thank you.
West Nile TV, lighting up. the region.
Football, our boys, our style. Star Times UPL new season starts 15th September. Go for it!
What a finish from Fukume!
The Ugandan flair, Brazilian samba, Portuguese magic, the night football craze. More TV games live on Senyuka Prime and Fufa TV only on Star Times. The Star Times UPL, our league. Go for it.
Break, we have been discussing the issues to do with health, self-medication, and also the issues to do with diabetes. Remember, yesterday was the International, actual World Diabetes Day, where really a lot of focus was drawn to the issues of medication and also diagnosis, how really people are able to catch up with the two, and also ensuring that health services is strengthened at every country. Okay, that was the focus, but also ensuring that people get acquainted with the knowledge of detecting these diseases in their bodies. Okay, that is one big area that we have been able to really share with people. But also it's very, very important to note that there's a lot that we need to do as a community policing from the health sector, looking at the health facilities and also their nearness to the communities. They are not really all that too close to every community, but through outreach programs, we can be able to bridge some of those distances and make sure that they are closer, and also ensuring that people are able to get those services right away. But let's move away from that and talk about the issues to do with URA enforcement team and the conflict between URA and the communities. Remember, just a week ago, we had a case of one person being shot dead by URA officials in Koboko district, and this was said to be a smuggler who was coming from Democratic Republic of Congo with 5 bags of rice and one jerrycan of cooking oil. And this was one issue that was actually said. And remember, smuggling is one big vice that could be contained in the country, and most of the countries are trying to fight it, but it is very, very hard to fight because really of the porosity of the points of entry. Okay, many times people have those pioneer routes that they can easily sneak with these smuggled items, though some of the items could be allowed in other countries, but you realize that majority of the items are being smuggled into the country or into different countries. So many of the items in Uganda are smuggled into DRC, and also from DRC a lot is also smuggled into Uganda, and that's one big area there that the two countries are trying to fight. Remember, there were a lot of regional engagements in relation to this kind of conflict, and it's from that point that the issues of smuggling has actually given a loss of Uganda's revenue base, and many times the tax collection targets have never been achieved, apart from last financial year where URA actually exceeded the collections, and you realize that through smuggling just along West Nile route, 1.5 trillion Ugandan shillings is actually lost every year. This is one big issue there that is actually raising eyebrows. But also you realize that what is smuggled is not only the food items. You have the African fabrics, that is the kitenge that many people smuggle from DRC, but also talk about the motorcycles. Okay, there are a number of Bajaj or boda boda motorcyclists that are smuggled from DRC to Uganda, but also South Sudan. Vehicles have been sneaked into Uganda. So many. You will see a lot of US SSD number plates, CE number plates, a lot in Arua city, and this is actually coming from the attitudes of smuggling. And if you look at the international laws, they describe actually smuggling as being part of or one of the symptoms of illicit financial flows, and this affects the country's revenue. It retards the value of the money the country is actually supposed to have. You realize that a lot of issues to do with inflation, issues to do with tax avoidance, the issues to do with smuggling, many other things come in, and this actually result into those kind of implications that we have. But yesterday there was another counteraction, or another conflict that came as a result of URA chasing one of the numberless motorcycles that was supposed to be arrested and taken to the URA sub-regional offices in Arua city, where the officers around Rema Hospital got one of the numberless motorcycles, and they were actually chasing this boda boda who was riding seriously. But according to eyewitnesses, there was one boda boda who was actually coming from Madiokolo district with some of the people behind his bike, and they were knocked by this speeding vehicle of URA that actually led to the death of one of the persons who boarded the boda boda. That is a lady whose body is actually at a regional referral hospital mortuary right now. And you realize that the motorcyclist who was actually riding got injured, and unfortunately the numberless motorcycle rider escaped his way, and this is one quite unfortunate thing. Because of one passion, you go and claim the lives of others, and this is quite unfortunate. How should really URA engage taxpayers on this kind of occasions? How should they be able to relate well if people should be able to pay taxes in a very amicable way? I remember earlier I discussed this in previous discussions, but we have seen this manifesting many times. So we need actually to get URA on board to actually explain to the citizens about some of these things. It's quite unfortunate that we continue to lose lives, and yet really the taxes that people will be able to pay could be very important to the nation if we engage them in a very friendly manner. If we talk to people, you know, these boda bodas have stages. They are always in many stages, and many of these numberless motorcycles are ridden by the people who are in these stages. So it will be easier for you actually to engage with these people, the communities, especially call the leadership of the boda boda, call the leadership of the city chamber of commerce, talk to the business chairperson, and they engage them together, have engagements with community, the business fraternity, and ensure that really you reach everyone. So this is one big issue there. Remember, there were a lot of bullets. That is one big issue there that is actually happening in Arua city. And remember, in some parts of Western region, from the months of November up to January every year, there are a number of lives that have been lost. Remember, in 2021, there were 5 lives that were lost. 2022, 4 people died, and this is just because of the scuffles that are always between URA and the communities, the citizens who are supposed to be paying the taxes. And remember, URA has actually been making losses in Western region, and this is attributed to a lot of money that is being injected into compensations. Remember, many times families come back and claim for the lives of their persons who have died. Okay, the life compensation is another big difficult issue that is always coming to disorganize URA in terms of achieving the tax obligations or the tax targets that they have been set. So this is another issue there that we really need to do seriously. If you want to collect taxes, you have collected maybe taxes from 50 people who have been able to contribute taxes worth 7 million Ugandan shillings, and you have decided to put all these 7 million Ugandan shillings into compensation of victims of people who have died in the due course of tax collection. That means you are making a lot of losses. Taxes paid by 50 people, consumed by 1 person. That is one quite unfortunate thing, because the money will not be able to reach the national treasury for budgeting processes and so on. That is a quite big loss. And I remember one big officer from URA, that is Ivan Kakaire, who has been transferred to another sub-region, was actually doing it the best in terms of engaging communities, and he had a lot of engagements with communities. And that's why really towards the end of 2022, there were no serious issues of conflicts with the communities, because he came lower to the people. But now you have seen this new set of URA officials who have not actually come to the communities, trying to explain what is going on. And also at some points, they used to actually give chance for people to actually go and get number plates at subsidized cost. This was actually aimed at ensuring that many people are captured in the system, many people start paying taxes and so on. But this has not been a campaign picked by the new team, and it has actually created a lot of issues in terms of enforcement. And this resistance are likely to continue if there's nothing like URA coming closer to the taxpayers. And URA need to actually cement its relationship. We are all aware that World Bank is no longer bringing us a lot of money, but we could easily raise money locally here through the taxes that we pay. And once citizens understand the need to pay taxes, and also once citizens are able to understand that paying taxes is the obligation, and it is through the taxes that they are able to get services, and once the proof of service delivery is seen by the citizens, it will be easier for people to pay taxes. There will be no need of chasing people with guns and every time having those rankles or rupturing of soldiers and so on with people at that particular point. And that is one big issue there that we need to really actually take seriously if we want to really have a good relationship with the taxpayers, because really having meetings with the leaders of these organizations or the taxpayers, and also coming deep to the people, understanding their problem. Many times some of these people pick loans to buy these motorcycles, but if they are supposed to pay like in installment, how will the terms be? This could be maybe a very good alternative for the border industry, because many times these people get cash every day. They get cash every day, so they cannot maybe put the money, accumulate, and then they'll go and do it later, because the only source of income is the motorcycle that they are ever riding and so on. So it's quite complex that URA needs to understand that kind of practice to ensure that maybe everyone is captured and also they're able to pay the taxes that are needed. Okay, it's very good if we take it seriously, but if we cannot take it seriously, it will always affect us in terms of enforcement. If people resist paying taxes, then there will be no way URA will be able to even put fuel to run after the people to look for them. And that's one big issue there that we need to actually look at. For those of you who are watching us right now, you can share your opinion, your comments about this topic, but also help URA and the taxpayers how amicably they should be able to relate in as far as developing this nation is concerned. Remember, this country actually depends much on the revenue that is collected by Uganda Revenue Authority. Okay, the Uganda Revenue Authority is actually mandated to collect taxes for this country, and the taxes they collect are actually there as to make sure that social services are up to date. Okay, talk about education, talk about health, talk about many other issues that are being channeled or championed by the government, and that's why sometimes you get a surplus budget, a supplementary budget that is being approved. This comes because of excess money that is being collected by URA. So if we cannot relate well, if we cannot team up to ensure that we develop our own nation, there's no any other person who can bring money and say, construct or build Uganda, I'll come and pick my money later. It's not going to be there, because every nation wants to go to the middle income status. Others want to be the champions of the world by being the number ones or the richest and shown in terms of wealth, in terms of the quality of services being delivered and shown. So remember, Uganda is still a low income status, but also we could move further if we have this team spirit of paying taxes, of also working amicably to ensure that there is transparency and accountability. Sometimes citizens resist paying taxes because they don't see the value of the taxes they are paying. For instance, if you have bad roads, if you have health facilities that are not furnished with drugs, health workers and so on, people fail to understand the need to pay taxes, and that is one thing we need to fight if we want to really make sure that people continue to have the taxes paid, and also the taxes that are paid are really well accounted for in terms of the services that are seen delivered by government. So this is one area that we need to strategize and also look at to ensure that we are able to really have the good of the people complying with tax obligations, the obligations to pay taxes. And also to the URA officials or the enforcement team, please take note that these are human beings you are dealing with, but also understand that if it is one person, you have alternatives. We have seen police trying to arrest, if it is a hardcore criminal, they don't even kill. What they do is maybe they shoot by the legs to ensure that the person is restrained. They call it a minimum force, okay? A minimum force to ensure that the person is restrained and also the person complies with the directives. So you can take one of those and really make sure that you don't actually cause tension in the communities as you are chasing for that one person, and this one you have killed might be one who has been complying with the tax obligations, the obligations to pay taxes. So you have lost two in one. So that is really very bad, and on top of this you are going to compensate, which is quite unfortunate. Remember, the whole of last evening there were a lot of heavy deployments of army and also the police around the URA offices. This was to safeguard the substation. Remember, there were attempts by some of the community members to actually go and set ablaze these offices of URA. So that is calm has been seen, and we are yet to see how really the engagement between the URI officials and the family of the deceased, how they will be able to harmonize the whole issue. And that is one thing we need to really come together to see, not really to take violence as the biggest solution to everything, but if we take the issues of dialoguing seriously in terms of bad, in terms of good, it's quite good, because once a life is lost, there's no need that the life will be really brought back. But the issue is to avoid the burden on the family in organizing funerals, and also really trying to console the family is quite good. That URA should be able to understand that people need some resources to really keep the family that is in grief to at least come back to a normal state, because once life is gone, it's gone. But it's important to have consensus and agree that, and admit that there are sometimes ups and downs that take us astray, but we could be able to come back to harmonize some of those kind of issues. So we should be able to have that seen today, and make sure that this does not escalate into other bigger violence that will be seen within town. So that's a big area that we should be able to interest ourselves into. But also people who are outside there who want to evade taxes. Remember, it is very, very criminal once you are arrested, maybe evading taxes. Tax evasion is not paying taxes completely, but you are there doing businesses. You maybe in a way you under-declare your profits, or you under-declare whatever you are selling. For instance, if you are dealing in wholesale of or retail, in a retail shop, you are selling general merchandise, and you decide to hide some of your things in your store, the store that you don't want to declare. That is one criminal thing. Once you are found to have done that for several times, they will start charging you per day, and seeing that you will be able to be penalized. And sometimes you can easily be jailed for that kind of thing. It is a very criminal thing that people need to really take seriously if we want to do trade in Uganda. So you are a trader in Uganda, you should be able to come via the designated points of entry. For instance, if you are from maybe DRC, you are coming to Uganda, there's a transit route. A transit route is where really those custom border points are put. So people should be able to interest themselves into that, and also be able to take keen interest in ensuring that they register their businesses, they are able to be tax compliant, they are able to avoid the issues of being in contact or in conflict with the law of this country, as far as the issues of law enforcement, the issues of tax payment are concerned. That is one big issue there. We should be able to take critical as we want to, if we want to actually develop further, and also make sure that your business environment is quite good, because it's you who can make your business environment safe for yourself. And if you don't want to pay taxes, you will always be waiting to see, hey, have they arrived? Where have they seen? And many times some people say, hey, Turkey, but people take off. And that is one big area that we need to look at if we want to develop this nation, if we want to change the narrative of being non-tax compliant to tax compliant. And there are moments, URI has been awarding people who have been tax compliant and who have been really able to file their returns. These have been awarded good rewards, and this is actually aimed at appreciating those who are paying taxes. So we need to balance the books to ensure that people are able to pay taxes, but also for people to pay taxes, we need to understand that people need information. People need to see the value of the taxes they are paying. So this is between government and the citizens to ensure that they come into common understanding to raise taxes, but also service delivery should be seen. There should be accountability in as far as service delivery is concerned. And that's it. And let's move away from that and move to the issues of people being responsible in demanding for services. And remember, there were engagements by civil society led by Western Regional Civil Society Network, that is WESISNET, with in conjunction with the Palisa Civil Society Network and Uganda NGO Forum. This was one engagement funded by actually the European Union to ensure that the priorities of the citizens are captured, and also people are able to demand for accountability from the leaders. This is a project termed as strengthening grassroots social accountability by the citizens, and this is one area that is very, very critical. But if you look at what is actually happening on ground, you realize that there are so many interventions by government, and even including through the local governments, through their budgeting processes, departments, sectors, and so on, where they are able to deliver a lot of services. But these services are expected to reach the targeted beneficiaries, and this most of them die at the implementation stages. This is one thing that has been attributed to public or the communities, the citizens not having the will to demand for accountability. Many of them want the leaders to come and account without asking the leaders. So this is one big area that leaders have felt relaxed, and they feel like they can use the opportunity to exploit the community members. And that's why you see the issues of corruption coming in, the issues of embezzlement, diversion of funds, diversion of activities, or diversion of monies meant for some activities being taken for other activities elsewhere, and yet the priorities were for other groups. And this is one big area there that has been witnessed. And this was actually an engagement conducted in the two districts of Maracha and Yumbe, and this is where really many stakeholders came up and said they have not seen the value for money in terms of different interventions put by government. You realize that a lot has been put under the social protection measures. You talk about the PDM, the Meoga, the Tandikwas, the presidential initiative for banana production, the issues to do with the NUSAF, the DINU projects, and many others that you can mention. And if you look at these projects, they have been there for quite a long period of time in order to transform the socio-economic aspects of life of the people, in targeting the livelihoods, intervention, improvements, and so on. But what has gone wrong elsewhere? You realize that many people have not been able to appreciate these projects, much as there are people who have been grouped to have benefited from this, to benefit from these projects. You realize that many of them do not actually benefit from the projects. Maybe if they benefit, the project scope may not be really the one that is being implemented. You realize that many times some of these projects are taken to the communities, but the money that was supposed to be injected is not completely injected. Half or a quarter of it is injected, but the rest moves into individual pockets that are not really targeting the people who are supposed to benefit. So these are the areas where a lot is needed. But also we have the LC1 or the village committees, the LC1s who are supposed to capture the priorities of the communities. You realize that many community members do not actually get to understand that there's actual need for them to have those meetings at village levels, for them to ensure that their priorities are captured at that lower local governments. So it is quite complex that many times now communities do not know what kind of services they are supposed to be able to have in their communities. And you realize that citizens fail to now demand for accountabilities because they were not in the initial stages of generating the needs of the community. It was the LC1 who sat with his committee and forced the signatures of the community members to generate a minute to say that maybe people attended the meeting for capturing their priorities, and this will be the budget of the village, and which is quite a very wrong approach towards capturing the budget and also influencing the budget of the parish, the sub-counties, the district, and the whole country. And this is where really many communities or citizens have been able to miss out of the biggest interventions by government, and sometimes why really some of the LCs who are not performing make people not benefit from some of these interventions by government. And maybe we'll move to the production department right now and see what people were able to raise, and also really what the interventions have been able to influence development in the country. And that's where we want to go, and also ensure that that people are able to actually benefit from these kind of things. You realize that many communities especially raised the issues to do with the livelihood interventions. These are interventions by government ensuring that people are able to get services. Many of these things come on annual basis. Some of them have been phased off. For instance, they distribute seedlings and many times seeds of cereals, many other crops and so on to people and even animals. But many times these things do not reach the citizens, and that's why you see sometimes people do not actually get feedback on them. They complain that government is not working. Even in the health facilities, there are concerns about some of due to congestion, some of the mothers sleeping down, others sleeping up on the beds, and many of them are saying maybe if you are giving room for people who have been operated to sleep on the beds, and those of you who have delivered safely to sleep on the floor, can we all go by cesarean section? And this is where really some of the mothers are actually pushing for cesarean section, so that they are able to be put on the beds. Okay, that is a very wrong mentality that we are bridging. So we need to have that social accountability put to the eyes of the people. The citizens should be able to understand that this is why we are behaving like this. Maybe if the facility is congested, we need to explain to people that the infrastructure is not adequate. That's why we are doing it like that. You should be able to understand with us, but we need to ensure that we keep the babies very well, and also ensure that they are well kept, and to avoid them contracting diseases. But we have seen some of the mothers put under tents. For instance, in Yumbe Hospital, you realize that this is in Yumbe Town Council. You realize that mothers are put under the tent, others are put down, others are on the on the floor, but also others on the beds. And this is where really people are raising those concerns. But if you come to Maracha, you realize that the issues of school dropout is very high. This is attributed to the low income levels of the people, and people failing to afford to pay school fees. Amidst all these interventions that government is always giving to people, people are given handy hose, people are given seedlings, but people cannot really raise these things to date, and this affects the income levels of the people, where people cannot now afford the services in the public sector. Just paying maybe 2,000 for PTA or development funds is one thing that even makes people fail to pay some of these dues, and also make it worse that some of their children are taken off school and they drop out from that kind of incidences. And this is one quite unfortunate thing. But we'll come back after this break and discuss that really detailed there again, to ensure that really you get understand what is actually there that we are talking about. Let's take a break. Thank you.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
The passion you've been waiting for!
It's Yunus Junior Santamo!
It's our league, our football, our boys, our style. Start Times UPL new season starts 15th September. Go for it!
What a finish from Ashraf Fukume!
The Ugandan flair, Brazilian samba, Portuguese magic, the night football craze. More TV games live on Senyuka Prime and Fufa TV only on Star Times. The Star Times UPL, our league, go for it. We are the passion you've been waiting for!
It's Yunus Junior Santamo!
It's our league, our football, our boys, our style. Star Times UPL new season starts 15th September. Go for it!
What a finish from Ashraf Fukume!
The Ugandan flair, Brazilian samba, Portuguese magic, the night football craze. More TV games live on Senyuka Prime and Fufa TV only on Star Times. The Star Times UPL, our league, go for it.
The demand for quality service provision in a transparent manner from the duty bearers to the citizens who need the services is dwindling due to accountability challenges in most parts of Uganda. Recently, West Nile Regional Civil Society Network, WESISNET, an umbrella organization for all the civil societies in the region, together with Uganda National NGO Forum and Palisa Civil Society Network with funding from European Union, contacted a community mansion in the districts of Yumpe and Maracha under their Strengthening Grassroots Social Accountability Project. In this, members of the community raised concerns over failure to access government social protection interventions, programs and projects, among others, noting that majority of the interventions die at the implementation stages before reaching the targeted beneficiaries. According to most of the service seekers, government interventions of socio-economic transformation do not reach the citizens, and the urge to follow up on the duty bearers is not fulfilling in terms of feedback.
Alagudo madi sender for turna kozito ado process like it ki korodu stikigandra kurum kituda amuso magemi ogako Send as me vetada we pokubani. Send ba process la galati afagatan council ga. Uzo mana magu consistent diki. Sara se remember la kizitu le kani baki mudu toya ingone ane position gana. Laki fast lot mu pisane rusu piriki. Ndoga di famani guideline laki na la petiti. Sidi ola la gara tenda mi ko ba madam laki no la kerle da binga yani. Bare mi mu bara ki je mini imida ini azli imida ini amomo dikido la niku lakini kina haki yana haki kwa rumors ga amamo aralla bara yuki iba only personal family members ki feki ngaki ru usuki ga se basendera amesumba makuyo kigbe wajo because amadi ma tijo lo ya danga ka feta manga mai mata to mango ri maru suki nga yumbega wo yumbega ra ausulu singo gala ani to manga ko nene ba e diju rutigare amano re da kula bare ndreke na ma ke amore ngase ko re e ki jola bare ke asendu sinde o fe ba ni ore ko ya re ni ku anga do mani da bere abido da re temu ma si village galera group ga ajoma vas man murira ku subene.
Various gaps in service delivery ranging from poor water systems, bad roads, access to quality health and education services continue to manifest, yet they are the basic entitlements to the citizens. Yumbe District Chairperson Asiko Abdul Mutwalib notes that due to the wide area covered by the district and the influx of the refugees worsened by the dwindling donor support, the interventions by government have not been felt by the citizens.
We have 1,224 villages, which is also the highest number of the lower level units in the country. The district has a land size of 2,411 square kilometers and a population is 1,021,232. This means that Yumbe qualified to be like 5 districts, but this is one district which is managing issues related to service delivery. And therefore, this means that when it comes to support to service provision within the district, I've always requested the players and key stakeholders to put in extra resources to have an impact when it comes to service delivery.
Whereas Morasa District Chairperson Obitra Stephen says little funding from the central government has made work difficult with the little local revenue collected, yet citizens demand a lot from the leaders.
We don't even have a single coin here, not even this quite 100 shillings coin. Even our people, supervision, facilitation for supervision for our team is not even there.
Whereas Flavia Rabhuo Kabayenta, the chairperson Parliamentary Committee on Social Protection in Uganda, advises government to increase funding for social protection and streamline the processes of accessibility at the implementation stages, since majority of the implementers divert the services from the targeted beneficiaries.
All of Africa, Uganda is not doing well in financing social protection. We are only at 0.7% of the GDP in social protection, and our social protection interventions are reaching only to 6.5% of Ugandans. But they are telling you the people living in abject poverty are 39%.
Under the Strengthening Grassroots Social Accountability Project, the CSOs are engaging the citizens on their involvement in demanding for accountability from the duty bearers and ensuring that the leaders open up to the service seekers in a transparent manner without compromise. Federick Dramadri, West Nile TV, Nilecast. Okay, welcome back from that commercial break, and also the story that have been aired there. And remember, the issues to do with service delivery is one big issue that is actually not in favor of the communities or the citizens, and that's why citizens continue to task the duty bearers, I mean the leaders, the people who are responsible to implement certain projects and so on. And that's why really people want a lot of information about this, and that's why really the gaps in accountability makes people not to believe in the services that are delivered by government. And you realize that many times few people tend to come for these services. Okay, if you look at the statistics right now, many people are actually 80% they first rush to the private facilities or private service providers other than going for public service. And guess why? This is where the issue is. Accountability is not to date, but also in terms of the relationship between the duty bearers and the citizens is one big other issue there that has continued to really affect people's coming for the public services. And this ranges from the health sector, the education, and many others that you may talk about. But even attending to people in your office, if you don't have the nice reception, the nice reception is not by your secretary, but the way you accept to explain or really give your time to people is how people will be able to appreciate your services. And that's it. And if you look at the districts that were cited in this kind of engagement or spotted in this kind of analysis, you realize that Yumbe, that has over 1 million citizens residing, that's both the non-citizens or non-nationals and the citizens who are nationals in Uganda. This is where you have 179 villages in the district and also so many parishes created. And you remember Yumbe has 29 sub-counties with 5 town councils, and this is a very large kind of district that needs a lot of resources. And that's why from the speech of the LC5, you realize that he actually said there is need to actually create 5 districts out of Yumbe district, and that's the one big issue there that we have. Currently, Uganda has actually more than 150 something districts that are already there, but 554 legislators and many other people who are supposed to really be duty bearers or accountable to the citizens. But many times you realize that such districts have little resources apportioned, but the population is overwhelming, and many times the population is not well captured. Even if it is captured, there are a lot of unfunded priorities in the budgeting process, and many times that's why you see a lot of roads are not being managed well. People complain about the poor water system. You show the children running to start looking for water, but water was not coming from the dry borehole, and many others that you'll be able to see. And this is as a result of the funding gaps. So how do we bridge that? But how about the interventions that are brought by government that are supposed to move to the citizens? Are they able to reach the people? Are they not really reaching? What is the issue? And that's why the demand for publicly accounting for the to the citizens is wanting, and that demand is actually generated by the communities. How do the communities generate the demands? It starts from the initial stages of planning. When they are giving out their priorities, they'll be able to actually ask questions. In the last financial year, we said we want a borehole here, we wanted a school here, we wanted a health facility here. How far has it gone? And that's one part of accountability that communities should be able, accountability questions that communities should be able to ask. And this is only done when you involve the citizens in the planning processes. So if you don't involve them, if the LC1 does not organize consultative budget conferences at his village, it is quite unfortunate that the priority of such a village will not be captured. The citizens will not know their role in asking for or in demanding for services for themselves. And that's why there's no need for government to go where there's no demand. Government gives funds to where priorities are, and also where the concerns are coming in large numbers is where really government may be interested in going. And that's why it's good to involve every citizen, every stakeholder in the budgeting processes, but also ensuring that we track the issues of the implementation of some of these projects. Sometimes these projects are not well implemented, and that's why really citizens lose interest in some of these government programs. Talk about WEP, youth livelihood, talk about many others, where really leaders tend to share the resources within themselves, and this comes back to affecting the interests of the people. It affects, it retards their morale. It actually gives a lot of doubts about whether these services were meant for the particular people or it was for the people who are actually listed to have benefited from this. And that's why it is very important to let people know of the services that are coming to their places, but also understand their role in ensuring that these are followed closely by raising those questions of accountability and also ensuring that everything is done in the best way. And remember, the recent report by Auditor General indicated that actual government loses a lot of money in as far as accountability is concerned. Many projects are implemented, so the works are done, and people tend to keep majority of the money or most of the money in their banks, but they release little, and at the end of the day, short work is done, and the outcome of whatever is being delivered does not really yield a lot of fruit. For example, we have the seed secondary schools. Talk about the Oleba Seed Secondary School, Shaga, the issues of soil works where so much evidence, but also look at the Power Seed Secondary School, which is almost collapsing, and many leaders have condemned and said this building doesn't need to be operational, and that is the issues to do with the accountability. So accountability gaps can easily be bridged when we really bring citizens closer. So we need to engage citizens at all levels to ensure that they are aware of the programs, the projects, and also the interventions by government for themselves. That's where really we're putting the discussions of the Kokoliriko show for the Wednesday edition to a close. But behind the camera was really Dijon Pro, and also we have Aldo, who is in the production. So up next, we'll be actually having the news in Lubaratu with Fete Emmanuel. Thanks for being part of the show, but also keep tab keep watching Western Television in the subsequent programs to come. Thank you.